Did you know that $1 in your pocket today might not even be enough to buy a plastic shopping bag, but it once held immense power? In 1972, children could clutch a 10-cent coin for an entire afternoon of happiness. It was America's last golden age, just before President Nixon's economic upheavals. Today, let's explore over 20 familiar items that Americans could own for just $1 in 1972. 4 loaves of white bread. First, with $1 in 1972, you could buy 4 loaves of white bread. A loaf of Wonder Bread back then cost only about 24 to 25 cents. Those soft, cloud-like white loaves were the soul of every school lunchbox, giving stay-at-home moms peace of mind about providing a full meal for their kids. Bread in 1972 was real bread, not filled with preservatives or GMO ingredients, which is why they molded naturally if left for too long. Compared to now, the price per loaf has soared to an average of $4.50, representing a staggering inflation rate of 1,700%. We are paying what many call a criminal price for artificial, chemical-filled loaves that sit on shelves for months without spoiling. In 1972, you could go to a Wonder Bread retail store at a local bakery and buy 10 loaves of bread, pastries, or pies for $1. Mothers often went once a month, and each child would be given $2 to buy whatever they wanted. $1 back then could actually feed a person for a whole week with sandwiches, but now it's only enough for a sigh in front of the supermarket shelf. Nearly 2 gallons of milk. If you took $1 to buy milk in 1972, the clerk would hand you nearly 2 gallons of fresh milk, as each gallon cost only about 58 to 60 cents. Gone were the glass bottles delivered to doorsteps every morning. Milk was now in large plastic jugs. A family of 7 could easily go through a gallon of milk a day. Milk in the 70s had a pure, naturally creamy flavor without the aftertaste of today's excessive industrial processing. To better understand the value of labor, let's make a small comparison. In 1972, a minimum wage worker only needed to work about 20 minutes to afford a gallon of milk. Meanwhile, today, you have to sweat for nearly an hour just to get that same amount. Milk prices have surged over 600%, reaching an average of $4.20 per gallon by 2025. Not only is it more expensive, but today's milk is ultra-high temperature pasteurized and stored in plastic containers that many worry may affect long-term health. We seem to be quietly getting poorer as we work more, but receive products that are less fresh than those of our ancestors. After knowing the price of milk in 1972, do you feel like you're paying too high a price for an experience that isn't as complete as it used to be? 1-pound tin of coffee. In 1972, an American morning often began with the lively sound of a tin lid opening and the rich aroma of coffee spreading through the kitchen. For less than $1, specifically about 85 to 90 cents, you could buy a coffee tin weighing exactly 1 pound, 16 ounces, and still have 10 cents left for some candy for the kids. These durable tins were often kept by housewives after use to store screws or small household items, becoming an indispensable part of daily life. Unfortunately, instead of the 16-ounce tins of the past, today's coffee is often packaged in flimsy plastic containers weighing only 10 to 12 ounces, but sold at a steep price of around $12. This means actual inflation has reached 1,200%, a figure shocking to anyone. We aren't just paying more for the same item, we are actually paying more for less product and less sustainable packaging. The feeling of enjoying a cup of pure coffee from a heavy tin is now just a luxury memory for modern consumers. Nearly 3 dozen eggs, 36 eggs. If you needed a cheap but high-quality source of protein for your working-class family in 1972, at just 30 to 35 cents a dozen, $1 could buy 2 dozen eggs with change still in your pocket. Eggs weren't a special food then. They were the standard for every American breakfast. It was usually the sound of bacon and eggs sizzling in a cast-iron skillet in the early morning. Soft fried eggs, crispy, fragrant bacon. Eggs in this era usually came from local farms, with darker yolks and a much richer flavor than the bland industrial eggs we often see in supermarkets today. Now, the price of a dozen eggs has jumped to about $4, an increase of over 1,000%, making eating eggs every morning a financial consideration. Today, standing before shelves with overpriced egg cartons, we truly feel the pain of inflation and the devaluation of our hard-earned money. The disappearance of the experience value, along with product quality, is a lingering ache for those who lived through that time. 2 packs of Marlboro cigarettes. Although we all know the harms of smoking today, in 1972, it was a common part of American pop culture. Back then, you could easily find vending machines in restaurant lobbies or offices, where inserting a few coins would make a pack of Marlboros drop with a characteristic thud. For $1, you could buy up to 2 packs, with each pack ranging from only 40 to 50 cents. Looking at cigarette prices today, this growth isn't just inflation, it's punitive. A pack of cigarettes in 2025 costs between $10 and $15 depending on the area, equivalent to a horrific increase of nearly 3,000%. This change reflects a major shift in social awareness and tax policy, turning a common daily habit into an extremely expensive expense. $1 in 1972 represented freedom of consumption, but now it seems completely worthless for this item. People who lived through that era would surely be stunned to see packs once bought with spare change now carefully kept behind glass counters with prices rivaling a restaurant meal. Nearly 3 gallons of gasoline. 1972 is considered the final chapter of the era of cheap fuel in the U.S., just before the 1973 oil crisis hit and changed everything. Gas prices were still under 30 cents a gallon, and a new small car cost $2,500 or even less. Specifically, with a national average price of just 36 cents per gallon, $1 allowed you to put nearly 3 gallons of gas in the tank. What many remember most nostalgically about this time wasn't just the price, but the dedicated service at gas stations. There were always enthusiastic attendants to pump gas, check the oil, and wash the windshield for free. The ding-ding bell as a car rolled over the rubber hose, signaling a customer's presence, became the signature sound of an era of thoughtful service. However, in 2025, with an average gas price of about $3.50 per gallon, your $1 bill isn't even enough to start the pump. Gas prices have increased tenfold, but the accompanying service has completely disappeared, forcing drivers to do everything themselves, from pumping gas to cleaning. $1 today seems to have completely lost its power on long roads. The characteristic smell of leaded gasoline in 1972 might not have been good for the environment, but it recalls a time when driving to work all week cost you only a few bucks in change. 100 pieces of Bazooka Joe bubblegum. This was the symbol of early financial power for every child in 1972. Bazooka Joe bubblegum. At just 1 cent per piece, $1 allowed a child to own up to 100 pieces of gum, a number enough to make them a tycoon in the eyes of their peers. However, $1 in 2025 has almost no consumer value for children when each tiny piece of gum costs 25 cents or more. We have lost an era where the smallest things brought great joy at an extremely cheap cost. Bazooka Joe wasn't just bought for the flavor, but for the ultra-short comics hidden under the wrapper and the gift redemption codes that taught kids patience and accumulation. Cycling 2 miles with a few coins in hand and bringing back a whole bag of candy was an experience of choice and early financial freedom that children of that time enjoyed. The $1 bill of 1972 was a ticket into a world of innocence, while today's $1 bill is just a painful reminder of how much experience value we have lost over time. If you're also curious and love topics like this, hit HYPE to give us the motivation to create even more interesting videos for you. 2 Swanson TV dinners. In the 70s, the arrival of Swanson frozen meals revolutionized the kitchens of busy families. With $1 in 1972, you could easily buy 2 full meals because each portion cost only 39 to 49 cents. The memory of peeling back the shiny foil, putting the tray in the oven, and patiently waiting 45 minutes to smell the hot popcorn and apple pie is a part of many people's childhoods. A Swanson meal back then was truly high quality, with a large piece of meat and enough side dishes to feed an adult. In contrast, 2025 frozen meals have not only risen in price to $4 or $5 each, but the size has also shrunk significantly, often serving only as a snack. The quality of the food inside has also changed from real ingredients to processed components full of additives. If $1 in the past brought convenience and fullness, today it isn't even enough to buy half of a meager meal on the frozen shelf. And do you remember the thrill of poking your fork into the hot apple pie in a Swanson tray after a long day of play? A large 32-ounce bottle of beer. In 1972, beer culture in America was much simpler and more accessible than the complexity of today's craft beers. With $1 in hand, you could buy a large 32-ounce bottle of beer, equivalent to nearly a liter, for just 60 cents, and still have enough change to buy a bag of peanuts to go with it. Beer back then usually had one common style: golden, highly carbonated, and always served ice cold to beat the summer heat. The convenient pop tops were often left right on the ground, a characteristic feature of outdoor gatherings. Although a six-pack cost about $1.20 then, slightly exceeding the $1 budget, the purchasing power of $1 was still incredibly impressive compared to now. Currently, an average six-pack costs about $10, an 800% increase. A $1 bill today isn't even enough to pay the bottle deposit in some states, let alone buy a single drop of beer. We are living in an era where the simplest leisure activities require a budget many times higher than the previous generation. The devaluation of the dollar has turned the smallest joys into something that needs careful calculation. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, snack box. In 1972, Kentucky Fried Chicken was still a traditional family-style meal, often bought as a trophy for Sunday dinner. For exactly $1, you could buy a snack meal consisting of 2 pieces of crispy fried chicken and a roll instead of a biscuit. Chicken was considered the cheapest and most common meat for family meals back then, especially on Sundays when everyone wanted to rest after a week of work. A significant difference in quality was the mashed potatoes. In 1972, they were made from real potatoes, whereas today, KFC has switched to using instant powder to save costs. Today, to get a similar meal, you have to spend nearly $9, a price increase that makes many people jump. $1 in the past carried so much weight that it could feed a person for an evening, but now it's just a scrap of paper at the checkout counter of fast food chains. And if bringing that red and white box home in 1972 felt like bringing home a proud trophy, today it's just an expensive choice among countless industrial fast foods. McDonald's hamburger and fries. McDonald's in 1972 wasn't just a fast food joint. It was a symbol of modernity and convenience with unbelievable prices. With $1 in hand, you could order a hearty quarter pounder for 55 cents and a portion of crispy fries for 24 cents and still have 21 cents in change to take home. Did you know the fries that year were fried entirely in beef tallow, giving them a fragrant and rich flavor that today's vegetable oils could never replicate? Customers also remarked that the beef patty in the burger was thicker and juicier than the thin patties of today. By 2025, a similar meal will cost you between $11 and $12, meaning the price has soared over 1,000%. McDonald's once advertised that you would get change back from a dollar bill, but now that bill isn't even enough to buy the smallest soda. The truth is, we aren't just paying more. We are accepting smaller sizes, thinner cheese, and industrial ingredients, replacing real value. This change turns what was once a weekend treat for kids into an expense that must be carefully calculated. 10 Hershey's chocolate bars. For a child in 1972, $1 was like a massive treasure that could buy a whole world of sweetness. Hershey's chocolate bars back then cost 10 cents each. With $1, you could buy up to 10 large bars, the 1.26-ounce type, which was much thicker than today's version. Back then, a child just had to find 10 cents on the sidewalk to have a whole afternoon of happiness with their favorite candy bar in hand. Those Hershey bars of the past contained more cocoa butter and less sugar, providing an original chocolate flavor without the feel of industrial additives. Currently, each similar bar costs between $1.50 and $1.79, an increase of over 1,500%. Not only has the price increased, but the bar size has shrunk, and the quality of ingredients has been replaced by cheap corn syrups. $1 today isn't even enough to buy the smallest candy bar at the supermarket checkout. 10 cents in 1972 was joy, the freedom of childhood, while 10 cents in 2025 seems like forgotten trash in a coat pocket. If you find this information interesting and want to preserve more beautiful memories with us, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. 2 whiskey shots at a bar. Walking into a local bar in 1972, your $1 bill had incredible power to ease your sorrows. You could order up to 2 shots of whiskey for just 50 cents each, enough to have a real relaxing time with friends. However, to buy 2 similar drinks in 2025, you'd have to spend at least $10 to $16, an increase of 1,500%. A more shocking reality is about labor. Today, you have to work more than an hour at minimum wage just to afford 1 drink to forget that very job. Bars back then were often dark wood paneled, filled with cigarette smoke, and echoed with the soul music of Al Green from jukeboxes. Happy hour in 1972 truly brought joy because the prices were extremely accessible to all working classes. The loss of this purchasing power now also means that the simplest moments of human relaxation are increasingly tightened by financial pressure. The feeling of sitting at a wooden bar counter, sipping a drink for a few cents, is now just a distant dream of a lost golden age. 10 glass bottles of Coca-Cola. In 1972, Coca-Cola wasn't just a drink, but a vibrant cultural experience. While in the 1950s, Coke cost only 5 cents, by 1972, they were just 10 cents a bottle. With $1, you could buy 10 glass bottles of Coca-Cola, either the 6.5-ounce or 10-ounce size. The most important difference was the flavor. 1972 Coke was made entirely with real cane sugar, providing a clean sweetness rather than the high fructose corn syrup used today. The feeling of your hand touching the ice-cold condensation on the glass and hearing the refreshing pop of the cap is a sensory experience that today's aluminum cans or plastic bottles can never replicate. In 2025, a bottle of Coke at a convenience store costs between $2 and $3, representing a shocking price increase of up to 2,000%. The reality is that prices have soared while quality has declined sharply. Those glass bottles of the past weren't just drinks, they were symbols of an era when everything was real and the value of money was always respected. 2 cans of motor oil. In 1972, maintaining your own car at home wasn't just a way to save money, but was considered a creed, demonstrating the knowledge and masculinity of men. For just $1, one could buy 2 cans of high-quality motor oil, as each can range from only 40 to 50 cents. But now, in 2025, the price per liter of synthetic oil has soared to $9 or $10, an 1,100% increase. From a basic skill that anyone could perform for a few cents, car maintenance has now become a luxury service at professional service centers. The image of men gathered under a car, using a specialized punch tool on the metal lid of the can, was a symbol of self-reliance and personal skill. Regular oil changes back then were extremely cheap, helping the muscle cars of that era run durably on every road. Thus, $1 in 1972 could bring you peace of mind regarding the operation of the engine block, while $1 today isn't even enough to buy a cheap plastic funnel. We are gradually losing the physical connection with the items we own, as the cost of caring for them ourselves has moved beyond the reach of many. 1 exterior car wash. Also in 1972, if you wanted your Ford Pinto or Chevrolet Nova to stay shiny under the sun, you only had to spend exactly $1 for an exterior car wash. That was the standard price at automatic car washes back then. There, giant brush bristles would noisy but effectively whip the car. The feeling of sitting in the car watching streams of water and soap suds cover the entire windshield for the price of a small bill was a simple joy for many families. However, in recent years, A comparable service would cost you $10 to $25 depending on the level of detail. More sadly, if you only have $1 in hand today, it's only enough to run the self-service vacuum for a short 3 minutes, not even enough to clean a floor mat. This inflationary change shows that the $1 bill has moved from being a unit of payment for a complete service to just a small fee for minimal needs. We live in a world where cleanliness has also become a luxury item, where the smallest denomination no longer holds any power. Looking back, we can't help but regret the simplicity and convenience that $1 could bring to daily life. A 45 ARPM vinyl single. Few know that music in 1972 carried a deep, tangible, and physical value that today's streaming services can never match. If you had a budget of $1, you could walk into stores like Sears to buy a 45 RPM vinyl single of the hottest song that summer for just 89 to 99 cents. Owning a record, looking at the meticulously designed cover, and feeling the characteristic crackle as the needle hit the groove was a complete artistic experience. You truly owned a physical work that you could keep or trade with friends. Conversely, in 2025, for about $1.29, you can only buy a digital download, a form of virtual ownership that you cannot touch or feel. If $1 in the past bought a whole tangible musical heritage, today's $1 bill seems to be vanishing into digital space. We have traded technological convenience for giving up true artistic value and personal connection with the works we love. The feeling of cradling a brand new record in your hands is now just a beautiful memory of an era that valued spiritual worth over speed. One daytime movie ticket, matinee. 1972 was a glorious year for cinema, with the masterpiece, The Godfather, taking the theaters by storm. During this time, even with just $1 in hand, a child or an early show viewer, matinee, could fully afford an entrance ticket to enjoy a luxurious theater space with red velvet curtains. The movie-going experience then was very pure. No 20 minutes of annoying ads, just short cartoons, trailers, and then the main feature. A teenager in 1972 only needed to work 1 hour at minimum wage to afford a movie ticket and might even have change left for popcorn. In contrast, in 2025, ticket prices at IMAX or premium theaters have soared to $18 to $25, an increase of about 1,700%. Today, you have to sweat for nearly 3 hours just to trade for a single movie ticket. The $1 bill of the past was the key to opening the world of dreams and intense emotions on the big screen, but now it isn't even enough to pay the online booking fee. We are paying too high a price for moments of entertainment that our ancestors' generation once enjoyed extremely easily. A thick Sunday newspaper. In 1972, the Sunday newspaper was not just a source of information, but a complete entertainment ritual for the whole family on weekend mornings. For just 50 cents, you could own a thick newspaper weighing up to 1.3 kilograms, full of sections from current news and color comics to classifieds and coupons. Your $1 was even enough to buy both the Sunday paper and the daily papers for all the remaining days of the week. The included coupons were often of such high value that they could help the newspaper pay for itself. Today, in 2025, a Sunday print edition can cost you up to $6, an exorbitant price for an increasingly thin amount of information. Even in digital spaces, you frequently encounter annoying paywalls after reading just a few articles. The disappearance of thick paper newspapers on the breakfast table is clear evidence that we are losing deep reading cultural values at a low cost. If $1 in 1972 bought knowledge and community connection for a whole week, today's $1 bill isn't enough for you to access one high-quality article online. 12 postage stamps. In the era before email or instant messaging, postage stamps were the lifeblood connecting relationships and social transactions. With $1 in 1972, you could buy up to 12 stamps at just 8 cents each and still have 4 cents in change. Many still vividly remember the awful taste of the glue on their tongue every time they had to lick a stamp to send handwritten letters to relatives or pay monthly bills. Sending a physical message back then was extremely cheap and common, helping people maintain connections even when far apart. By 2025, the price of each stamp has surged to nearly 70 cents, a meteoric increase even though the digital world has significantly reduced the need for handwritten mail. Unfortunately, we are witnessing a surge in the cost of physical information transmission, turning heartfelt handwritten letters into an expensive and rare form of communication. A $1 bill today isn't even enough to buy 2 stamps to send a simple letter. $1 in 1972 carried 12 messages of love, while $1 today seems silent before the dominance of digital technology. Wage gap analysis. To truly understand the value of a $1 bill in 1972, we cannot just look at prices, but must analyze through the lens of labor spent. In 1972, the federal minimum wage was $1.60 per hour, meaning an average male worker only took about 15 to 37 minutes of work to earn $1. However, a sad truth is that gender inequality was very prominent back then. Women often had to work 25 minutes or longer for the same office job to receive that same $1, as their wages were only about $2.50 per hour, compared to $4 for men. $1 back then was expensive in terms of effort, but extremely cheap in terms of actual usage value. We are living in a paradox, working more hours with higher productivity, but having far less purchasing power than our ancestors half a century ago. If the minimum wage had increased according to the inflation rate of bread, we should be earning at least $30 per hour today. Yet the reality is that the current minimum wage still hovers around $7.25, showing a disastrous lag of income compared to skyrocketing prices. A $1 bill in 1972 truly had the weight of respected labor value, whereas now it's just a number reflecting the impoverishment of the working class. Looking at this discrepancy, do we feel outraged for our tireless efforts in the present? School lunch. In 1972, school lunches cost only about 25 to 35 cents, but were surprisingly filling and delicious. For that amount, students could get a complete meal consisting of a sandwich, a packet of potato chips, 2 biscuits, and sometimes chocolate milk, all freshly prepared, providing enough energy for the entire school day. Unlike today's fast food or packaged meals, each dish was carefully cooked or prepared, allowing students to appreciate the natural flavors and care from the school kitchen. Memories of lining up, carrying trays past tables, sharing stories with friends, and inhaling the aroma of freshly baked lunches are cherished moments in childhood. For just a few cents, students could eat their fill, be happy, and be energized. An experience that is hard to find today. Grocery shopping. In 1972, with just $1, you could go to the grocery store and bring home a cart full of food, from fragrant loaves of Wonder Bread and fresh eggs to meat and a few small pastries. Compared to today, to buy the same amount of food, you would have to pay at least $15 to $20, which is 15 to 20 times more. And the effort spent is also much higher. In 1972, you only needed to work about 30 minutes at minimum wage to cover the whole shopping trip. Now it takes over 3 hours. I still remember the feeling of the whole family going to the supermarket together, choosing each loaf of bread, each egg, each piece of meat, and feeling so happy bringing home bags full of groceries. Food back then was fresh, not overly processed, and every meal was full of natural flavor, an experience that today, amidst crowded supermarkets and pre-packaged goods, is hard to find again. If your grandma loved fashion and carefully preserved her items, it's very possible there's still an old handbag tucked away in the closet. Unlike today's mass production, bags from that time often clearly reflected the style of their era. For example, bags from the 1970s often had a bohemian style, frequently crafted from soft leather or suede, fitting the hippie-influenced clothing of the time. Today, investors and fashion enthusiasts are discovering that designer handbags can be a lucrative financial investment, just like real estate or stocks, especially if they come from big, globally prestigious luxury brands like Chanel, Hermes, or Louis Vuitton. Their resale value is almost guaranteed. Limited editions or rare pieces from a collection only increase its selling price. For instance, a Chanel bag from the 1970s and 1980s, if well preserved, can sell for over $8,000 today, much higher than their value at the time of release. Even using antique items has now become the inspiration for the highly popular Y2K trend, offering a unique vintage flair that is hard to duplicate. If you still have grandma's old handbag in your closet, try carrying it once. Who knows? You might accidentally become a 21st century trendsetter. Every scent has the power to transport us back to memories, and for grandma's generation, vintage perfume is like memories bottled up. We remember the bold and mysterious scents that defined the 1970s, such as Alyssa Ashley's Civet Oil. However, what makes these items valuable to modern collectors isn't just the fragrance itself. Collectors, especially glass artisans, are often more interested in the bottle itself and the type of glass used. The exquisite design and glass work of the bottle are the reasons collectors hunt for them. Look for glass art pieces from famous artisans, such as the Lalique glasswork by René Lalique. Lalique bottles can reach several $1,000s. Especially unopened perfume bottles, intact after decades, are nearly impossible to find anywhere else, dramatically increasing their value. Even empty bottles from brands like Chanel, Dior, Guerlain, and Avon Figurals can sell for $20 to $150 or more. Rare perfumes from the 1970s, like Alyssa Ashley's Civet Oil, if auctioned, could go up to thousands of dollars. Looking at modern kitchens, you might notice a clear trend. Modern brands, including Smeg, have started selling toasters inspired by vintage items, complete with sweet pastel colors. These appliances are designed to evoke the kitchen style of the 1950s and 1960s. If you are lucky enough to own a real old-style appliance deep within grandma's storage in a similar sweet color, it could be a treasure. The appeal of a vintage toaster lies in the combination of durable function and unmistakable aesthetics. They aren't just household items, they are small pieces of industrial art. Collectors of vintage appliances are not just looking for the retro look, but also the superior build quality from an era when objects were made to last. If the appliance still works well and retains its original paint color, its value increases. A real old-style toaster, well preserved, can be sold quickly and for a great price in the antique appliance market. The comparison between modern, vintage-inspired machines and finding the real deal creates a special attraction for those who love the retro style. As children, we often fought over the prizes inside those tempting cereal boxes, but few would have guessed that the simple cardboard box itself could be a valuable collectible. It turns out there is an entire community of collectors willing to buy vintage cereal boxes, as they recall a part of childhood pop culture and peaceful Sunday mornings. For them, the box is a container of memories about the flavors and the brand image. These collectors especially look for boxes from iconic brands or brands that no longer exist. The rarity of a vanished brand significantly increases the box's value. The images on the boxes are often familiar cartoon characters or unique retro advertisements, reflecting the graphic design trends of the era. The most important thing for the box to be valuable is that it needs to be well preserved. A torn or dented vintage cereal package won't be as valuable as an intact box with colors as vibrant as new. The existence of a hunting community and the rarity factor of the vanished brands show that the financial potential of these souvenir items is not small at all. In the quiet corner of Grandma's living room, we remember the solemn presence of vintage musical instruments. Perhaps it was the old piano covered with embroidered cloth where she still played simple melodies, or the violin carefully stored like a sacred treasure which had played countless warm family tunes. These instruments are more than just musical tools. They are heritage, a sonic bridge between generations. Well-preserved instruments generally are major moneymakers when resold on the antique market. Specifically, guitars are items worth looking for. A guitar that has barely been used from 60 or 70 years ago can be extremely valuable to collectors. They also hunt for pianos from long-established prestigious brands like Steinway & Sons, famous for their sound quality and craftsmanship. For violins, classic models from renowned makers like Stradivarius are always considered treasures. A rare piano can be worth tens of thousands of dollars or more. Even mass-produced violins from the 19th or early 20th century, if well-preserved, can reach several $1,000s. Do you still keep any musical instruments that were a part of your childhood? Tell me which item on this list brings back your strongest childhood memories. Be quick to discard those old, simple lamps you see in Grandma's living room. Vintage lamp bases from the right brands can surprisingly fetch huge sums of money. Their value often lies in the artistic design, quality craftsmanship, and brand origin. Antique lamp collectors often seek names that have become legends in the lamp and glass-making industry. Brands to look for include Tiffany's, Handel, or Fulper. These brands are famous for using sophisticated techniques in crafting stained glass and brass. Tiffany's lamps, in particular, are often associated with the Art Nouveau style, where curving lines and rich colors were emphasized. Some antique lamp bases like these, especially if they belong to rare brands or have unique designs, have sold for up to $25,000. This proves that a simple functional item in the home can also be a work of art with incredible economic value. In old childhood photos of the previous generation, we can often see pictures of children proudly driving pedal cars. These are the predecessors of the modern toy cars we see today, and they are symbols of outdoor fun from long ago. These cars were usually made of metal, modeled after real car models popular during that era. Collectors today seek older models of pedal cars, as they have more history and higher rarity. The most important factor in determining their value is the condition. A car that is still in good condition, with the paint and metal details intact, will be worth much more than one that is rusty or heavily damaged. For example, a Lincoln car built in 1930, modeled after the luxury cars of that time, has been valued at about $1,000. For many collectors, owning these cars is a way to connect with childhood memories and the history of American toys. We remember the large wooden trunks in the attic or the worn leather suitcases. They are time capsules holding countless stories of adventures, long trips, and family memories. There is something truly romantic and captivating about an old suitcase, where every scratch tells a story about where it has traveled. Vintage trunks and suitcases are highly valuable because they were often crafted exquisitely from high-quality leather and brass, designed to withstand time and long journeys. The craftsmanship of a bygone era is clearly demonstrated through the sturdy brass clasps and robust leather stitching. Collectors particularly seek vintage luggage sets, especially those from luxurious and iconic brands like Louis Vuitton or Goya. These brands represent superior quality and luxury. A vintage Louis Vuitton suitcase produced in the early 20th century can be worth thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. Even an old trunk not belonging to a luxury brand, if in good condition, can range from several hundred to several $1,000s. The large mirror hanging in the living room, which witnessed so many family gatherings, or the small handheld mirror Grandma always kept in her purse, are all silent witnesses to time. Vintage mirrors today are highly valuable, not just for their reflection capability, but also for their artistry. Their value is focused on the exquisitely crafted frame. These frames are often made from noble materials like sterling silver, gilded brass, or mother-of-pearl inlay. The craftsmanship transforms the mirror into a sculpture. Typical examples include mirrors in the Art Nouveau style with curving organic lines, or Victorian mirrors with rich and complex decorative details. Mirrors with clear provenance or those designed by famous artisans can reach higher values. A flawless, perfect Art Nouveau or Victorian mirror can be worth hundreds to thousands of dollars. However, it is important to note the condition of the glass. Cracks or noticeable flaws in the glass surface will significantly reduce the value of this collectible item. Inside the old cardboard box holding holiday keepsakes, you might find some Christmas ornaments. Such a deeply sentimental item can be hard to throw away because each one is tied to a festive season, a year gone by. However, some of these items are real treasures. You might reconsider discarding them if there is a hand-blown glass piece lying around. These handcrafted ornaments, with their fragility and sophistication, are sought after by collectors. Especially the pear-shaped kugel ornaments are eagerly pursued by collectors. Kugel is a type of heavy glass ornament, usually simple in shape, produced in Germany and very popular in the late 19th century. Their rarity and historical significance make them invaluable. Some such vintage ornaments have sold for nearly $2,000 apiece. Even more astonishingly, some pear-shaped kugel ornaments have sold for up to $18,000 each, proving that these small Christmas keepsakes can bring a great fortune. Perhaps you inherited an old book from a family member, and among that book collection, you might be holding an extremely valuable first edition book without even realizing it. The value of these books lies not just in the content, but also in the uniqueness and rarity of the first printing. Collectors look for first printings of popular titles or older documents from the 30s, 40s, or 50s. These books often reflect an important cultural moment when the work first debuted. To determine if a book is a first printing, you need to carefully check the copyright page and publisher information. The book's condition, including the hardcover and the dust jacket if present, is the deciding factor in its value. If you are lucky enough to find a first printing of a significant work, it could bring in $15,000 or more. You might be sitting on a treasure trove you don't even know about. Those items Grandma carefully kept, from a simple button or a handwritten postcard to a handbag that seems out of style, might be worth more than you think today. As mass-produced items flood the market, those old pieces carrying the marks of time are exactly what people are hunting for. And who knows, that treasure might be right inside your home. Come along with us as we discover 25 of Grandma's classic items that could turn into real cash today. When we find Grandma's old jewelry boxes, our first reaction is usually to look for real gold, silver, or diamonds. But here's a surprising truth in the collector's world. Jewelry doesn't need to be made of precious metals or contain real gems to have great resale value. The costume jewelry that was worn every day or on special occasions can actually be the real treasures. We are talking about pieces made by highly sought-after designers, the folks who defined the style of an entire era. Look for the big names who made waves in the fashion world, such as Miriam Haskell or Elsa Schiaparelli. Their jewelry captures the spirit of an era, with craftsmanship and sophisticated designs that are timeless. Even if they aren't diamonds or sapphires, these items still hold deep artistic and historical value. For a collector, owning a piece of costume jewelry from these designers is owning a piece of fashion history. These specific pieces of costume jewelry have fetched thousands of dollars at auction, comparable to more valuable items made from real metal. Sometimes, the story and the creator are what determines the price, not just the material. Grandma always had an old tin box placed on the windowsill or inside the sewing desk drawer. Inside was an entire world, needles and threads of all colors, and dozens of buttons of all shapes and sizes, saved from clothes worn out over the years. At first glance, they might seem like nothing, but if that button is made from a special material or has sophisticated patterns, it turns into a valuable item sought after by collectors like any antique. The most specifically sought after buttons are those made from bakelite. Bakelite is an early type of plastic famous for its vibrant colors, widely popular from the 1920s to the 1940s. Additionally, buttons hand-carved from natural materials like bone, wood, metal, or glass, or buttons featuring old illustrations and advertising logos are also very popular. A single, extremely rare button can range in value from a few dollars up to hundreds of dollars. Even finding a complete and well-preserved sewing kit with all the neatly organized spools of thread and sewing needles can sell for tens to hundreds of dollars. But what people are really looking for might not be the old buttons themselves, but the memory of a time when Grandma and Mom meticulously cared for every collar and adjusted every button, moments that no amount of money can buy back. If you feel the same way, please hit hype to spread your own story. Grandma's warm stove, we often found those distinctive cookie jars, storing fragrant batches of cookies baked with love. However, not just any old cookie jar will sell well in today's antique market. High-value jars usually have a clear mark of their era, especially if the item was made in the 1940s or 1950s. This was a time when unique and creative ceramic designs exploded. The value of cookie jars soars if they are shaped like a famous person or a cartoon character typical of that era. These figures are not merely containers. They are popular culture icons, bringing back memories of favorite TV shows and characters. When a collector finds a jar like this, they aren't just buying an object, they are trying to buy back a piece of their childhood memories. Rarity and good condition are key factors in determining the price. A uniquely shaped cookie jar, which has kept its original color and newness after decades, could bring you hundreds of dollars. This is a great example of how everyday objects, when tied to a cultural context, can become valuable assets. Inside those old boxes in the attic, we often find bundles of postcards or fragile handwritten letters. These little pieces of paper might seem like minor souvenirs, but they can hide surprising historical and financial value. If you check to see if anyone in the family ever had a famous pen pal, you might get lucky. A letter from an influential name, or a celebrity, could bring you a large sum of money. This shows the importance of the item's origin and the story that comes with it. Even simple postcards can attract avid collectors, especially those sent before World War I. During this period, postcards played a crucial role in communication, and the images and postmarks from that era hold deep historical significance. The most important factor determining their value is the condition. The better condition the postcard is in, not torn, stained, or folded, the more money it is likely to fetch. These postcards, though fragile, are vivid proof of how the previous generation connected and recorded daily life. Finding a carefully organized collection of antique postcards is a fantastic discovery, and their value can increase significantly over time. Back in the day, Grandma always kept a few bills tucked away in a familiar spot, maybe an old wallet, or sometimes a quiet tin box at the bottom of a drawer. This wasn't money meant for getting rich, but simply for peace of mind, ensuring there was always something in the house just in case. But over time, those ordinary bills can turn into surprisingly collectible items. Their value lies not just in their age, but in very small details. A fancy serial number sequence, repeating numbers like 7777, rare low number sequences, or special arrangements that collectors are always hunting for. Some bills become valuable just because of a small mistake during the printing process, misaligned ink, missing details, or the small star at the end of the serial number on star notes, which are replacement notes for flawed ones. To a collector, that's not a mistake, but a mark of history. Stumbling upon a bill like that among old keepsakes brings a very special feeling, like touching the past once again. And these very bills remind us today of Grandma's quiet sacrifice, because the carefulness from a difficult time sometimes quietly carries a value far greater than the number printed on the paper. Inside those old wooden chests or carefully tucked away closets, Grandma might have saved a few pieces of vintage clothing that are now becoming hot trends. The most appealing thing about vintage apparel is that the wear, fading, or minor imperfections are part of the charm, meaning even worn items can still be valuable. This goes against the common notion of needing new clothes, adding drama to their collectible value. The vintage clothing market is extremely lively right now, and collectors are looking for items linked to major pop culture moments. Look for 90s Nike hoodies, iconic starter jackets, authentic Harley-Davidson t-shirts, and band shirts. Savvy collectors especially hunt for t-shirts with a single seam, known as single stitch, which is a sign of older production techniques and age. Furthermore, the Made in USA label is also an important indicator of authenticity and origin. These items often bring a deep sense of nostalgia for the youth of the previous generation. These specific pieces of vintage clothing can sell for between $100 and $800, depending on rarity, condition, and the story they carry. If this video helps you see the hidden treasures in your family keepsakes, please hit like and subscribe so you can join us on more nostalgic trips down memory lane. In these days of inflation, we often view pennies as insignificant objects, easily forgotten in Grandma's jars of loose change. But even the most ordinary-looking coin can hide an amazing fortune. The first thing to look for are silver coins minted before 1965, because they contain real silver, making them much more valuable than their face value. The value of coins skyrockets because of minting errors. These errors, similar to printing mistakes on paper money, are proof of rarity and uniqueness. Look out for errors like off-center strikes, missing letters, or the famous double-die error from 1955. One of the rarest and most dramatic discoveries is the 1970s Lincoln Memorial penny. This item is extremely rare, with only an estimated 50 pieces remaining, making them incredibly valuable. A rare copper Lincoln coin from 1943 sold for over $300,000. As for the 1970s Lincoln Memorial penny, if you are lucky enough to find one, it could easily be auctioned off for about $38,000. Checking those old jars of spare change is a real treasure hunt. The china sets in Grandma's house often gave off a formal and mysterious vibe. They were usually carefully kept in a glass cabinet, only brought out for major holidays, family dinners, or when special guests came over. These refined plates and cups are like silent witnesses to the most precious family moments. China sets are highly valuable if they are complete, have few chips or scratches, and retain their original glaze. Collectors look for perfection and craftsmanship in every detail. Long-standing and prestigious brands are eagerly sought after by collectors such as Lenox, Royal Doulton, Wedgwood, or Haviland. These names represent quality and heritage in the ceramics industry. Furthermore, a set of china with clear provenance or one that comes with a special story can significantly increase its value. For example, a complete Lenox autumn set with meticulously hand-carved gold details can easily fetch several $1,000s in the antique market. Perhaps what they are trying to recover is not the object itself, but the memory of a time when the family gathered together, memories that cannot be revisited now. On Grandma's old armchair or folded neatly in the attic, you might find a unique yo-yo quilt. This special handcrafted item originated in the 1930s. This was the time when quilters began using their skills to create a fresh style of blanket. They cut fabric circles and hand-stitched them together, creating a raised, soft texture. This unique quilt was named after a popular toy at the time, the yo-yo, evoking the playfulness and lightness of the era. The value of a yo-yo quilt lies in the meticulousness and time the maker put into completing it. Each hand-stitched fabric circle is a testament to the patience and love of the grandma who created it. They are often made from various fabric scraps, resulting in a vibrant and highly personalized tapestry of colors. If you are lucky enough to have a colorful handcrafted quilt like this, well preserved in the attic, you could earn nearly $300. This is a great example of folk art and traditional craftsmanship holding significant financial value today. In the family's old bookshelves, there are often old Bibles and family books passed down through generations. These books are not just religious texts or literature. They carry deep historical and sentimental value, making them desirable to collectors. They are time capsules containing not just text, but also the spiritual heritage of a lineage. They are especially valuable if they include genealogy records, noting family births, deaths, and marriages over the years. These records turn the book into an irreplaceable family history document. Furthermore, books containing original artwork, e.g., drawings, marginal notes, or rare prints, are also sought after by collectors. The physical condition is also important. Well-preserved leather covers and gilded edges significantly increase the aesthetic and financial value. Old Bibles and religious books kept in the family, bearing historical marks, can sell for $100 to $1,000 or more. Stacks of old magazines Grandma carefully kept in cardboard boxes can also be treasures. Old magazines with iconic covers or those featuring a historical event on the front page hold great appeal for collectors. They are visual and timely snapshots of the past. The value of magazines is closely related to rarity, condition, and the issue's print run. Covers documenting major cultural moments are always sought after. Examples include the Time magazine issue from 1969 about Woodstock, jet and ebony covers from the Civil Rights Movement era, or the rookie covers of Sports Illustrated. These magazine covers are not just paper, they are historical evidence. Typically, old magazines sell for about $10 to $20 a piece. However, some extremely rare copies consistently sell for much higher prices. For example, the April 1972 issue of Cosmopolitan sold for $3,000, proving that even periodic publications can hide great value. In Grandma's shed or workshop, the old tools were carefully stored. No matter how simple, rusty, or beat up they look, vintage tools can actually be extremely valuable to collectors. For enthusiasts, these items are symbols of old craftsmanship and superior build quality. Collectors look for solid steel and unique maker's marks. Items that seem rough, like saws or hand drills, can bring in large sums of money if they are rare or of exceptional quality. A rusty tool could fetch $3,000. Branded tools known for their durability and precision frequently sell for $50 to $300 or more. Interestingly, even heavily rusted tools can be restored and resold because the core value lies in the material and design. Among the items your grandma collected, there might be pieces of memorabilia from old restaurants or stores. Americana and retro advertising themes are very popular right now, and the fast food toys from your childhood might be surprisingly valuable. These items bring back memories of a different era of consumption and dining. Collectibles like metal Coke signs, early collection McDonald's toys, gas station oil cans, and grocery store displays are highly valued due to their rarity and connection to popular culture. Even old mugs, trays, menus, and uniforms from closed restaurants or stores can be sold. For a collector, owning these items is owning a piece of American retail and advertising history. These memorabilia items can sell from $50 to several $1,000s, depending on the brand, condition, and their rarity. If you recall the interior of Grandma's house in the 1970s, you definitely remember the shag rug or the shaggy carpet. This was a defining feature of home decor back then, famous for its deep, soft pile and vibrant colors. Walking barefoot on this luxurious rug felt like stepping on a cloud, providing an unforgettable feeling of warmth and relaxation. Vintage shag rugs are highly sought after today due to their unique style, the comfort they offer, and the strong nostalgic factor. Finding a rug that still retains those rich earthy colors like avocado green, mustard yellow, and burnt orange is a worthwhile discovery. Cleaning and restoring vintage rugs can enhance their value, bringing them back to their original beauty. A round shag rug from the 1970s is currently listed for $1,250, and some have sold for over $1,500 depending on the condition and rarity of the pattern. These rugs are a symbol of the free-spirited and casual lifestyle of that decade. Do you still keep any shag rugs or other items from the 70s? Share your pictures or memories. Among Grandma's valuable possessions, there might be pieces of art that seem simple at first glance, made by non-professionals, but hold deep value. Today, works like outsider art, art by individuals without formal training, and folk art, traditional art, are increasingly popular in the market because of their originality, authenticity, and direct reflection of local culture. Their value lies in the fact that they express strong individuality and natural skill, especially art pottery from renowned workshops like Rookwood, Gruby, or Weller from the 19th and early 20th centuries are highly sought after by collectors. Art pottery is valuable because of its unique sculptural forms and especially the characteristic hard-to-replicate glaze, which creates the craftsman's unique mark. Even a simple hand-painted piece by an unknown artist or a small, finely carved wooden sculpture can be highly valued for its authenticity and non-replicable uniqueness. Looking back at this list, we don't just see the price increases in the numbers, but also the disappearance of a dedicated, quality, and connection-filled lifestyle. $1 in 1972 could feed you for a day, but a $1 bill in 2025 isn't even enough to buy a shopping bag at the supermarket. If you found this video fascinating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss other nostalgic journeys. And if you're curious about unique, rare items your grandma used to have that are now worth a fortune, keep watching the video, 25 Vintage Items from Grandma Worth Big Money Today. Don't throw these away. You'll surely be surprised by things that seemed worthless.